Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audiblepodcast.com/Sorgatron Media. Over 75,000 titles to choose from for your iPod, iPhone, or MP3 player.
I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said now. I'm getting awesome, you're getting awesome, we're getting awesome, yeah, that's what I said.
What's up, guys? It's the Awesome Show, where we, talk tech, get awesome, and do a cast right here. Of course, I'm your host, as always, Mike Sorg, and with me, as usual, we got a double up here on the black and white screen. We got, of course, on the left, my trusty co-host, Rob De La Creta. How you doing?
I think that would be maybe it's your left, but the stream's right. That would be
right,
me.
Left. I'm confused. Everything's coming at different angles here. Don't cross.
I'm
the streams.
fine.
The intern said, "Don't cross the streams."
Don't cross the streams.
And
I see I'm still a journalist.
oh, I didn't. What was this supposed to be? What am I supposed to change? What?
Creative
Tell us what
technologist?
you do, Rob.
Creative technologist, because I'm tired of explaining everything I do, and that just covers
Creative
everything
technologist. Let me change that right now. Creative technologist. It's a podcast. It's on the fly, and there you go. There you go. Creative technologist.
I do. Look at that, big and fancy. I'm fine. How are you? More importantly, I never ask you how you are.
I'm great. I'm fantastic. I'm not Rob De La Creta. Oh, fantastic. No, I'm looking forward to vacation next week. But, after we get all the extra shows done this week, which we'll talk about a little bit later, some of the plans we're formulating there. But also, beside him, of course, is Chachi Says. How you doing?
I'm alright. How are you?
I don't know which to call you. Pitch hitter. I still have you as a pitch hitter.
Pinch hitter.
Pinch hitter. That's it there, right? ChachiSays.net, the host of Chachi Says, the vidcast, the internet sensation out of Pittsburgh lately. So we had your amazing PodCamp session up there. Have you got any reaction from that?
No.
None whatsoever.
Great.
Not really. Like, people are watching it. I can tell people are watching it, but no feedback.
So you're calling out the people to get a hold of you.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to know what you think.
Awesome. And joining us tonight is our esteemed guest, Mike Wojciech at the Alpha Lab. How you doing?
Good evening, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you. I am here at the Alpha Lab.
The official, the Alpha Lab. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what's going about Alpha Lab and everything. How you been this week?
Good, not too bad. We're in the midst of our fifth cycle here, so and I'll be able to tell you a little bit more about that later. But no, it's been good. Thankful that the weather has finally started to cooperate, and it's more like fall and the hoodie weather. That's the good thing.
I enjoy the hoodie weather. I like a good.
Wait, it seems like there's a love of hoodies when it comes to the Nerd Nation.
Because they're comfortable. It's like a hug.
It's like a hug.
I don't really have anything else to say on it. I just found it funny that, the common theme amongst nerds is we prefer to wear hoodies.
Yeah, I prefer zip-up hoodies for ease of access. Not access to me, but just like on and off. And do things. Pardon me while I dig myself out of a metaphorical hole.
See, I like...
That was well done, though, Rob. That was well done.
It gives me something with my hands, I think, personally. Because, that awkward, what do I do with these things? Some of us are socially awkward.
That is nice. I mean, any other garment you have, like you can put your hands in your pockets and it's like awkward. You can kind of like rock back and forth and maybe look like there's a little something wrong with you. Or if you're wearing a hoodie, like instant hideaway, you don't have to worry about them. You just kind of put your hands in front of you. Nobody can see. You could be doing something in there, like playing some invisible Scrabble or some Pac-Man.
What, Words with Invisible Friends?
Yes, you can be playing Words with Friends without looking at the screen. How awesome would that be?
Or Words with Pirates. I haven't found a pirate to play with me yet. So
Wait, there's a Words with Pirates?
yeah. Apparently they could put it up like a couple days too late. It looks like it's an official Words with Friends app, but
I am getting that right now.
we can play each other. But not Chachi because he's on Android.
Hey,
Yeah, you know. Hey, I gotta ask. I saw you. What are you drinking a beer over there? Chachi,
I am.
you are. What are you drinking?
It's a Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale straight from Kentucky.
Nice. Now we're one step closer to should I drink that?
Yeah, it's 8.9%, and it's delicious.
Fantastic. All right.
I have nothing but a mellow yellow.
Mellow yellow. I'm enjoying a wonderful Baja Mountain Dew from the Taco Bell. How about Rob? What's your beverage of choice? I don't know
I've got
why we're going.
some homebrewed wild blackberry sweet tea.
Fantastic. All right.
That sounds delicious.
It is
does.
actually it is my first homebrew like iced tea thing, and it's fantastic. I'm pretty happy with it.
Excellent. Well, let's get right into it. The first thing I wanted to talk about, now that it's been a week and some of them actually got this damn thing, the new Twitter has been making the rounds. Somebody just texted me. The new Twitter has been making the rounds. I think most of us here have gotten our hands on it. Some of us have returned it to the store. So what do you guys think of it so far? Rob?
As you motioned to me over the internet, it reminds me of MotoBlur, come to think of it, because MotoBlur is horrible because Motorola said, you want social media, we'll give you social media. In fact, we'll give you 5 different parts of social media all at the same time. I feel that the way they went about, because the idea behind the new Twitter was to, like, everybody's passing around media on Twitter, and it's kind of everywhere where you look at Twitter, they have to bring you somewhere else to look at it unless you're in a client. So they really want to make the Twitter.com experience much more like using an app, so you can manage things easier. It's easier to see what people have been talking about instead of the one tweet delivery system they were kind of depending on before that, where like you click on somebody's name and it would show you like that one tweet. But they're doing it all at once, and there's a bunch of like alpha level bugs that people are reporting. Like Jenny, my girlfriend, she has a problem where like things just don't line up at all. No matter what browser you use or how you log in, it seems to be attached to her account, which is really strange. But yeah, I think their biggest problem is that they're trying to do too much at once, and they didn't think about each individual thing and then meshing it together to make it easy to use, make it make sense. Maybe it would make sense to have it modular so you can turn some things off and turn other things on. I don't know. But from what I saw of it, it does not excite me.
It seems like it takes up too much space for what it's trying to accomplish, to me.
Mm-hmm. I got the feeling when I first saw the new Twitter, I got the exact same feeling looking at that as I did the first time I opened TweetDeck.
Mm-hmm. It's like too much all at once. And I know
without the functionality.
Yeah, and
Let me
I know
add that.
TweetDeck was something that took me a little bit to get used to because it was so much.
Well, I mean, I think they also borrowed, pretty heavily from the iPad interface. Although I personally think the iPad interface is more useful. Mm-hmm. The thing that I don't believe they've figured out is that whole right side that is kind of identified for following, followers, favorite. I mean, it just seems like they threw that up there to say, here's a whole bunch of information, hope you like it. And if you don't, well, tough, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Mm-hmm. I think that integrated, media is going to appeal to some people. Maybe it's going to be to those that really like that overload. I mean, I agree with Rob. I when MotorBlur came out, I thought it was absolutely horrendous. I wasn't an interface that appealed to me, but I'm sure it may appeal to somebody. But what's funny is I know people were saying this is the end of apps, this is the end of Twitter apps as we know it. But I actually think this is probably going to increase Twitter app usage if they stay with it as is, because some people are going to be so put off by it.
Mm. What do you guys think of the media integration? The big thing about this, of course, they partner with a lot of people like YouTube, Flickr, other just media delivery like that, and you get that little icon, and seems the main thing about the pane is the icons, the replies. What do you think about the integration there? And do you actually find it useful? I know it took us a minute to actually realize what was going on, how to find which posts were affected by this when we first looked at it. Did you guys have any kind of experience with that?
I've used the media integration, a little bit where people have, thrown, YouTube videos in. I mean, it's hit or miss, right? Depending on what, service they use, for example, for photos, it's hit or miss. The one thing that I do like is, when you select a tweet and it kind of, moves over to the right and it shows you all the information about it, that I can kind of see the conversation right there, which, that's nice, because if I'm looking back to see, okay, who kind of responded to that, and it's been hit or miss. I mean, some of the tweets aren't necessarily relevant. I do like that, but I think they still have a long way to go to integrate that media seamlessly if that's their objective.
Now, you mentioned you think that this is going to drive a lot of people to the application. There was some big figure that came out, I think, when they were first announcing this, that something like 70-some%, I think they may even put 90-some% still use the site for their Twitter usage. So do you think this is going to be, well, you mentioned it, the overwhelming feeling of TweetDeck. You think a lot of people are going to be turning it off like I think Chachi has?
I turned it off in an hour.
Now, what was your problem that you turned it off so quick?
They were trying to do way too much, and it's not set right.
Mm-hmm.
It still has way too many bugs for them to be pushing it out to all the users yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to take it back, work on it a little bit, and then release it when they're sure they have it finished. Until then, I have it switched back to the original browser, and if I need more than one column, I'll open TweetDeck.
I got you. Rob, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. My camera just turned itself off.
Oh.
I mean, it's the camera in my MacBook Pro, and I hear a boom, and I look over, and there's a notice saying that your camera is in use by another application, but no, it's not.
We'll tell you what,
so,
until that comes back, we'll give you Chachi's angry face whenever you're talking. So
fantastic.
Just so everybody knows, right there, there's the title, there's Rob. There you go. Represented by Angry Chachi.
Angry Chachi!
All right, moving on a little bit. Another big announcement. I guess we get a little bit into we can get off Angry Chachi. A little bit of mobile news. The BlackBerry Pad was finally announced. Whoa. We got stuff going on in the studio. The BlackBerry Playbook is announced. It'll probably be the Paybook because there's no cost announced for this thing yet, which is kind of worrisome.
Sick bird.
Due in 2011. It's from what I've read, it's tether off of the your BlackBerries you have now. No cell chip involved in it. Have you guys looked at this thing? What do you think of it?
It looks like, well, the first thing that kind of threw up a little flag for me was it's running QNX. Does anybody remember QNX?
What is QNX?
That's a throwback.
That is a hell of a throwback. I ran QNX on a Compaq. Oh, what was it? It was a 466 megahertz beast of a machine that cost $1,600 in 2000, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And QNX was dead sexy on that machine. But it's basically a variant of Unix. And my experience with QNX was basically just like any other distribution. It has its gives and takes. The QNX, I think at that point in time was like the early rumblings of something like Ubuntu, which was to make it easier to use for people.
Mm.
But it has since, it spent a very short time in the public, and then they moved to a pay model where you had to pay to get your copy, much like you do with Red Hat today. And then they kind of disappeared off into the corporate space, and they've been used in single board computers, things like that, operational machinery, as far as I know. But yeah, I don't know. They kind of acquired QNX. Let's see what's going on here. Apparently they're last stable release was in June 2010. So they've just kind of been festering as another Unix distro until they were acquired by BlackBerry. So now they're running that. So, I mean, there's a lot to say about it just being BlackBerry, because we're still waiting for that tablet device that you're going to see used in business. Like the iPad still has the same caveats you see with the iPhone that people hold back in business for, which is a lack of security and a lack of a standard. Well, I mean, not really lack of a standard, because Apple is a standard, but lack of like government standards, things like that. The thing that make Obama having a BlackBerry okay, because they can rewire it and have it acquire all these security keys, is totally cool. And the BlackBerry Playbook, although it's not that appealing to me, I mean, I see it as another tablet running a proprietary Unix thing. Do we know anything about an app store or anything like that?
I don't think there's been anything announced for that. It's like they only released half the information for this thing.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't even talked about whether or not it's going to have onboard storage, Yeah. So they're forecasting 16 and 32, similar to the iPad.
Yeah, unconfirmed 16 and 32 according to this chart here.
But I think, it could have, just because it's BlackBerry and depends on that tethering to a device that is, still prevalent in the business space, has been prevalent in the business space, has been dependable in that. If they can integrate Unix, make it, effective to the point and easy to develop for, I think this could be that business tablet, that hospital tablet, that, security inspector type tablet device that could just, be the new paradigm for that market.
The thing they use on Avatar.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Because all this other stuff, like the Samsung Galaxy Tab and the Dell Streak and whatever HP is going to put out, they're all more geared towards the consumer, but BlackBerry as... And
Android is still kind of a young operating system as far as that goes.
Yeah, definitely. Android has a favor of ease of development, and the huge geek following that there is, and how many devices there are out for it. What's going to hurt the Playbook is that it's running a proprietary operating system. It's running BlackBerry's tablet OS based on Unix. And so if you develop for that, you are developing for that. You can't, develop for Android and port it over to that. You can't develop for Apple and port it over to that. You're going to make a dedication of that, but I can't speak for how difficult it's going to be because I don't know how much Unix is in their Unix.
Yeah, and I think you're right. The consumer space, Apple has really opened up, the whole tablet market, obviously, in the last several months. But there's still really no tool sets, provided by Apple and also on the Android platform that really allows for enterprise management, which is that's the wheelhouse that BlackBerry still plays in, and they're so entrenched. It's not easy for, the federal government or members of Congress or other, large corporations just throw that away and say, oh, yeah, we'll roll out iPads. We'll move to that. So they're sticking with their base.
Well, see, I don't know about that anymore. And I hate to change the subject, but I was given a new BlackBerry Torch from AT&T to learn and use at work so I can support it. And they're trying to incorporate everything now, it seems.
They're trying, but they're still BlackBerry development. They're still proprietary. Yeah. They're not opening up to anything that makes anybody with a developer license say like, oh, hey, I'd really love to develop for a BlackBerry. Come to think of it, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that sentence.
Right. You're the first person ever to use those words in that order.
And the Torch isn't exactly a device that people have
putting those words together in that sentence.
Right. But, I touched it. I can say it's terrible. I'm not even kidding you, all right? They rave about the device being touchscreen with a built-in keyboard so that it allows you to continue using it for enterprise needs. But it's terrible. Because there's no easy way to slide the screen up to get to the keyboard. Like, it's a pain in the ass, honestly, to access the keyboard. So you're basically stuck either struggling for a few seconds to access the keyboard or giving up and using the touchscreen.
You know, there's a thing on ThinkGeek now. It's a case for the iPhone that's a flip-out keyboard.
Really?
Yeah, kind of blew my mind.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, does it have a... does it go into the one port that the iPhone has?
Yes.
Does it have a replicating port?
I don't believe so.
So it's useless.
Maybe, I don't know.
We've got some. We got a little bit of commentary from the chat room I want to bring up. This one, please don't identify yourself. I just retweeted this actually. It says, Ustream says, I'd love to develop for the BlackBerry right after I crashed my car into the river. Let's see. Beth said, Beth910 from the internet. Is RIM pad going to need a battery reset every 20 minutes? And let's see what else we got in here.
Yeah, I was gonna Chilla put something out there in terms of the enterprise apps. I mean, Apple does have enterprise apps, but BlackBerry Enterprise Server, which if there is a hell for IT people, I think managing BlackBerry Enterprise Server is somewhere in the 7th or 8th circle of hell. It's out there, and I mean, it's robust, and I hate using that word, but it really is full featured in terms of managing devices for BlackBerry. From what I've read, and I haven't used the Apple Enterprise configuration tools, they still have a ways to go to really catch up with that. And also, I think that there's still this suspicion from, a lot of corporate IT types that, Apple products are still consumer based. They're still in that consumer market. So that's, I just want to clarify my remarks.
Yeah, and I mean, as all of us well know, rolling out a completely new technology in itself is a massive challenge for an IT department. Just like there's plenty of the market share in the Windows business space right now is still stuck on Windows XP just because they're looking at Windows 7 and they're looking at the costs and the time involved in coming over to the new system, and they're just like, nah, you know what? It works right now, and we don't care. So there's going to be plenty of people in the BlackBerry space saying, like, you know what? We're working here, and we have absolutely no reason. Like, it doesn't offer anything new in the business space. There's nothing really better about using an iPhone in the business space than there is about the BlackBerry, because really, in business, we're supposed to conduct business, so you're basically sending and receiving emails and checking stocks at most. And with the iPhone, you have apps, you have content delivery and all this stuff, which is not necessarily business related, unless you are creative, and then you're not working for like a big, huge corporation.
Okay, so I just took a look at the flip-out keyboard.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, that looks kind of cool.
It does look pretty cool, and it is I'll note here for anybody listening and doesn't feel like clicking the link, ThinkGeek.com. It is $50, and it is a ThinkGeek design device, which is very cool. Shipping in November with limited quantities, but it's basically there's a term for that kind of slide. Anybody?
You got me. I don't know.
Slide, is it?
What?
Is it like a flip slide?
No, not like a flip slide. It's not an open. It's not a clamshell.
It like rotates from the.
It's a rotating slide.
And for those listening, not live and everything, I did put in delicious.com/awesomecast. There's a thinking link in there under AC19 for this episode. If you want to check it out yourself.
Yeah, good for the 3GS and the 4. It looks cool, and the subtitle on it is "Take That BlackBerry" to be subject appropriate. So. Awesome. Well, you got something? Yep. Nope.
Skype overstep. All right. Well, speaking of phones and the awesomeness to come, first Windows Phone ads blame other phones for stop and stare. Interesting ad campaign that started leaking out. I don't know exactly what they're getting at here. Have you guys watched these yet?
Yeah, I watched it right before the show because I was curious what they meant by the stop and stare. And what they're doing is they're trying to attack an interface problem that is fixed by jailbreaking your iPhone. So it's it's one of those standard weaknesses that you get with the iPhone. Is that like, there are a lot of things. There's plenty of things for Android that do this that give you a status screen. Like there's some people who want their phone to be like, oh well, I have to click this, and that's how many emails I have. And there are those of us who want to look at just pull your device out of the pocket and be like, okay, I've got 52 emails. This is the basic, like the first couple sentences of the first 4 emails. These are how many text messages I have. This is the weather, the last sports scores, how my stocks are doing, all this information all in one place. And so the new Windows Phone 7 main interface that they're bragging about is that it puts all of that information up front, like the things you can do on Android. Because when the ploy in the video, for anybody who hasn't seen it, is somebody saying like, oh, hey, look at Windows Phone 7. We stop the stop and stare, and then they show the example that we've all seen. I mean, it was most of PodCamp Pittsburgh, to be honest. People standing there, staring at their screen, moving their finger up and down, looking at stuff. So it picks at a weakness, sure. It's funny, sure. I don't know how successful it's going to be as far as like phones, because it's almost a niche market, and like I understand it because I'm a geek, but I don't think anybody else is going to care.
Yeah, it'll catch people's attention, but I don't think they're going to get exactly what it's about.
Well, and some of them also, those situations that they portray in the commercial, which is like sitting at the table looking at your phone. I mean, a lot of these are just, societal faux pas that they're, pointing to and saying this is because of your phone. And it's, a lot of it's manners. I just don't think it translates well to what they're trying to say, which is we've introduced this new user interface and we think it's the best way to go, when compared to the others, because you can see everything in one spot. But I mean, you also could, pass out or have some sort of convulsion looking at it, because if you look at the demos, I mean, everything's moving all at the same time, and they're, showing slideshows on top of text message and on top of everything else. So whether or not that works for people is going to be interesting. The Metro interface that they've introduced.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a taste thing. I mean, like, for the way I use my phone, almost compulsively, it's kind of getting annoying, and I should probably see somebody about it. But regardless of how much information is available up front, like, there are times of day that I look at my phone and I don't do the stop and stare, and there are times of day where, like, if you catch me at work, I'm like face planted into my phone, flipping through things, checking emails, because the information is there, and no matter how much information you provide me with up front, you can't give me everything I need. So it's really going to be up to the individual, and like Wojciech said, it's really just a social faux pas. Like, some people are going to do it, some people aren't, and that's regardless of what device is in their hand.
Yeah, and I think for me, the way I have my notifications and text messages set up between Twitters and other applications, I think it has a little bit of the stare or the take a glance thing. I have it so I get the Pirates scores, so I can be disappointed every night before I go to bed. And it's a glance, oh, Pirates lost. And I'll be sitting in the car, I'm like, oh, hey, Pirates lost, and I move on with my life. And it's a really good experience as far as I go with my iPhone. So, but it'll be interesting, and there's a lot of hype coming up. I don't think it's been determined exactly who's getting the phone when, because there's like 3 different Microsoft events over the next month. But it'll be very interesting to see, when these people finally get their hands on this thing. See if it's actually going to be a competition for what we have now. So, but moving on, we want to run through the rest of this real quick. Mark Zuckerberg, now richer than Steve Jobs.
Yeah. I hadn't really looked at a picture of him until really today. Like, I've heard a lot, I listened to a lot, and I read a lot, but I hadn't seen a photo of him. Yeah, he really does look like he's 26. He actually looks like he's 17, but he's only 26. Yeah. How does that make you feel? Huh.
You know what? Honestly, though, from what I've read, I think Mark Zuckerberg would be the type of person that we would hang out with.
You think so? Even after seeing Social Network?
Right? Especially after seeing Social Network. If that's an accurate depiction of what he's like, I think we would hang out with him all the time.
Excellent. One of the greatest things I heard, I think they were talking about the same story, and Kara Swisher, that was on stage during the, I think they call it Sweatgate now at All Things D. I think she was trying to convince him to go to the Social Network premiere and pretty much meet Jesse Eisenberg face to face and kind of own the situation a little bit more. Because, of course, they're doing a lot of these puff pieces. He had a thing on Oprah where he gave, $100 million to Newark schools. And he was on, 60 Minutes a couple months ago. So they're definitely doing the PR push for him with this movie coming out, because it definitely for the couple of us here that've seen it, it definitely puts them in a pretty bad light. We talked a little bit about people's reactions coming out of there, and they're probably gonna need something like that. But I really wish I would have seen him show up at that premiere and kind of just put himself out there like that.
Yeah, he's not very, just like in Sweatgate when he was like obviously having a panic attack, he's very, very reserved in I don't like his business moves would make you think that he is, the 26-year-old with the 35-year-old mind, I guess you could say. But the way he acts socially and when he gives talks and things, he really does act like he's 17, like standing in front of a class giving a report.
Yeah, and that little bit of a social awkwardness and everything.
There's a piece in the New Yorker that kind of talks about his childhood growing up, and Cindy Klosky pointed it out to me earlier this week. And I mean, it's an interesting read. It kind of gives a background on what drives him and some of that social awkwardness where it comes in.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, moving on. I think we had one more here. A little bit about France.
France.
Rob, you wanted to talk about France. What's happening over there?
Bad things are happening in France.
Bad things for the French people.
Bad things for French people. So the three strikes law, the Hadopi law, has gone live, which means that if you are using the internet in France and you have potentially violated any modicum of a copyright law, you will be identified. And if you are identified 3 times, your name will go to a judge, and that judge will decide what to do with you. And those penalties are ranging from $1,000 fine to a year without internet. And that year without internet will be dictated by the government, so much so that no matter what ISP you go to, your name will be on a blacklist, and nobody is allowed to provide you with access to the internet.
Is that strictly access via computer?
No.
Or phone also?
I think it sounds like it's your access, like you signing up for an account. So
yes, I think it does cover phones.
Yeah.
Oh, well, shit. Cross France off of country I will never live in.
And the really amazing thing about this is that they've said that they're going to first start a slow rollout of this investigation, running through 10,000 IP addresses a day.
A day.
Every single day. And then once they actually get up to speed, quote unquote, they'll be rolling 150,000 IP addresses a day. To put that in perspective, a U.S. judge recently ruled that Time Warner only has to give up 28 IP addresses a month.
Jeez.
But this new, keep saying it wrong, Hadopi? The Hadopi law is saying that any ISP in France is now, basically they risk a fine of 1,500 euros per day for every unidentified IP address if they choose to withhold this information. So if you use an ISP in France, you seem like even you have broken a copyright law. You will be identified, and if you are identified 3 times, you will have a case to make in front of a judge. And that kind of sucks, and I hope it doesn't set any precedents and bring up any bright ideas anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I know we haven't been following this story too often on this show, if at all. But I know this is the kind of ruling that a lot of governments, either in public or behind closed doors, have been talking about. I forget, was there a push for something like this from the copyright holders, from like entities like the RIAA and MPAA?
Yeah, I mean they've all referenced this because the Sarkozy has been tossing this around for a long, long time. He's basically just agreeing with whatever the I forget what the thing in France that's responsible for all this is. But he's basically listening to whatever they have to say and saying, yeah, whatever, that's fine, it's a good idea. And I know Australia is facing the same kind of judgments. They're very strict about their copyright in Australia, and I know they were tossing around the 3 strikes law as seriously as France was. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But I think at this point, in the U.S., they're basically saying that it's not a precedent. It's not necessarily the best idea, but this is something that somebody is doing to fight this, and maybe it's something we should pay attention to, and maybe we can learn from it. And hopefully that's about as far as that goes.
It looks like, and I don't know if you mentioned this before when you were talking about this, there's an anti-piracy outfit called the Trident Media Guard, which is chosen by the entertainment industries of the country to report illegal uploaders in France. So
I think Trident Media Guard is the people who are actually going to be sifting through the 10,000 IP addresses for the 158,000 IP addresses per day.
So
It's like
That
the
job
name
has
of a
to
lame
suck.
superhero group.
what's that one?
I said that's like the name of a lame superhero group.
Yeah.
I'm sure it sounds a lot better in French.
I bet their logo is
Sure does.
fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I want to point out that someone in the chat room made a very funny comment. It says, "You will be forced to wear one of the Wi-Fi T-shirts. An alarm goes off if you are in the same network for too long."
A year without internet waterboard me first.
The other point about this is that there are a whole plethora of options to file share anonymously, to use BitTorrent anonymously. There's proxies, there's safeguards, there's all kinds of stuff you can do to use BitTorrent anonymously. So even if a red flag comes up,
Yeah.
nobody will be able to figure out who you are. And you can always hop on Usenet.
Or
which
you just
I
live
think
off
still
whatever the
exists.
equivalent of Starbucks is in that country for a year, and you're good, right?
I'm
Well,
pretty sure it's
I-
Starbucks.
Take all that
I
money you're pouring towards your ISP, and it'll buy you a day's worth of coffee. So,
Yeah. And I kind of wonder if they're going to enforce this in like coffee shops, things like that. If they'll make you
Yeah,
show
I
ID before you can log on to
do
public
you
Wi-Fi.
have your papers so you can get on a free internet?
You need to have
Papers, please.
No ticket. One more left by Mr. Derby, Norm Heelsman, that was on here a couple weeks ago. U.S. seeking to expand wiretaps on the internet. Now, again, we cannot refer to this as Big Brother because Chachi has put a block on us saying that on the show.
I've kiboshed that.
Kibosh that. We're still trying to figure out a replacement for that term. So if you are interested in giving us a replacement, please drop it to at AwesomeCast or contact at awesomecast.net. Basically, they're looking to expand it to the internet. Have you guys been reading up on this? I know we were pretty angry it was on the Post-Gazette, but other than that.
Basically includes everything.
Yeah.
If you send a message on the internet, they have a right to read it.
So I mean,
But at the same time, we asked for it.
Yeah.
We want the government to protect us. The government is coming up with ways to try to protect us.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to, you can't, to come with the simplest example I can, you can't be a traffic cop if you can't see anything.
Right.
Like, if you can't see the cars on the road, you can't be that officer. You need to be able to see what's going on. And as we've seen with past terror efforts and things like that, where plans have been dug up very early on, so they were completely foiled by the CIA and the FBI and Homeland Security and all that stuff. And that's all because they had the information. It's really straightforward and simple. If they don't have the information, they can't help us. So it's just one of those privacy things.
Yeah, along with that, I think we talked about this briefly in the pre-show. They are looking to apparently there's a split in the Obama administration. Obama in his campaign speeches said he was against this kind of action, but apparently Vice President Biden recently said he was for the practice of getting back doors into encryption, built into encryption for the government to have access. Which sort of goes along with this, I think. And it's, it's kind of a black market situation where, if the encryption you and I are using have these back doors, the people that are really interested in not having the government look at what they're doing are going to find other methods that don't have that. So
Listen, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. All right, that's all there is to it.
so you can't have
You
you can't have your Facebook and eat it too. That doesn't seem right.
Right.
Okay. We'll work on that.
I eat
one
my
too.
Facebook all the time. Very high in calories.
We'll work on that along with the Big Brother terminology. So, all right, we're going to get into talking with our guest here about what's going on with him in Alpha Lab. But first, I want to talk about our sponsor, Backblaze.com. Guys, now my drive has bit it. I think it's a curse ever since we got these guys as affiliate. But one of my show drives went, as in it won't plug in and get power. I'm hoping I can recover it. But I'm not as worried about it because everything should be backed up on Backblaze.com. It's only $5 a month, a little bit of peace of mind. I got it on 2 computers. I got a bunch of external hard drives. That's 500 gigabytes. I'm not as worried about as I would have been. Like DJ Lunchbox over the Wrestling Mayhem show, who lost 500 gigabytes of his life.
I think you're making this up.
What? No, I'm serious.
Every week.
Every week, the hard drive has failed. Yes.
Yeah, every week you have a different story about someone's hard drive failing.
I'll tell you what. I heard an echo of myself.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I have an anecdote that I told when I did the IT thing. I told all of my clients this anecdote when I found out that they weren't backing up. There was this guy, and his mother was, I think she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. So in the final year of her life, he went on a road trip with her, and he had all these fantastic conversations with her, and he recorded those conversations. And it was like the most valued thing he had. So his mother passed, and then like a year later, his hard drive completely crapped out, gone. And he was also a video editor. So he lost something like 4 terabytes worth of data, which include his life's work of video editing and the only like solid like audio recordings, all those audio recordings of his mother now gone. Were gone forever, and he couldn't get them back.
Jeez. And
so, like, you know, you think, like, what would happen realistically? Like, look at all the data on your computer right now. What would happen if you woke up tomorrow and it was impossible for you to access any of that? Like, seriously.
We got a message for you from the chat room from PGH Rugby Angel. I say, let's talk dead hard drives. Remember my laptop that is dead? Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot.
That's why I'm really worried. But, you know, laptops, you carry that around. I'm carrying it to work, about every day. You know, I wouldn't be carrying around to clients to wherever. And who knows if something happens to that, you know. These MacBook Pros are pretty robust, but, you know, a bad drop's a bad drop. You lose the hard drive and you're done. So I definitely don't want to leave, and you know, you leave a couple of projects on there saying, oh, I'm mid working through it, but I know I'm on Backblaze, it's backed up somewhere. So if the worst happens, I at least have a recent version of it and haven't lost the entire thing. So,
yeah. And Backblaze shouldn't be the only part of your backup solution.
Yes.
But it should be, it's backup in 3 places is the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah, the rule of threes is real good.
Isn't it the 3-2-1 method? I think they talk about. I can't remember where all that goes. Like have three copies, 2 physical locations, 1 off location.
Yeah, so you should have 1 local backup with some kind of redundancy, like a Drobo, something like that. 1 off-site backup in case a fire happens, something like that. And another one in case everything goes completely wrong, and you can just pull it from offline.
It was actually funny. We have we got like a 2 terabyte or something drive, and we're backing off the server at work. And then my boss calls me and says, "Hey, take that next door." I'm like, "Oh, so it's in case something happens to this place?" He's like, "Yeah, exactly." Before he comes in next. So I thought that was funny because a little bit of that in action. So, but if you guys are interested, check out Backblaze. Please support the show. Click the link over there on sorgatronmedia.com or awesomecast.com, and you'll be helping us out and helping yourself out for the cheap, to be honest. So please go check them out, backblaze.com. All right, guys, it's time to talk startups with Mike Wojcik here. Mike Wojcik, how you doing there from Alpha Lab, the glorious Alpha Lab right behind you there?
Yes, the scaffolding and the office space behind me. Doing very well. Appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk about it. I know you've had some guests and graduates of the program. Spike from Vivo, he was last week, and then a couple weeks ago, you had the always energetic Nick Pinkston from CloudFab.
Yes. It's been a wonderful pool to figure out who to have on the show, because I just look at the list of AwesomeLab and it's usually guys I've heard of. And we've talked a lot about the community and everything. These are guys that we see all over in the social media and everything. At PodCamp, all those guys were at PodCamp. Of course, Spike was working it, but Nick was around doing panels. Don from Resumator was on a panel as well. I got the great chance to talk with him. So, tell us a little bit. We talked a little bit from the guys that have been through the program. Tell us, about the AwesomeLab process. You got a new cycle coming up of applications. Tell people what they can expect from AwesomeLab.
Yeah, so the AwesomeLab program is a technology accelerator based here in the south side of Pittsburgh. We're right off East Carson Street. And we invest in, very early stage technology companies, specifically in the internet, software, entertainment technology, gaming, and hardware spaces, in certain instances, hardware spaces, to accelerate their growth. We invest $25,000 in the companies for 5%. We provide mentorship, access to advisors, weekly sessions of programming, and all that kind of culminates in a demo day, which happens at the end of the program, where they give presentations to potential investors, advisors, stakeholders, so that they can find additional follow-on funding, possibly a strategic partnership, or in some cases, they're already generating revenue out of the gate. So, and we're in the midst of our 6th application cycle, number 6, and those applications are due by October 28th, just about 4 weeks from now.
Excellent. What's exciting coming out of there? I know you got a few people from the current cycle. You're about halfway through the current cycle. What's some exciting stuff that we can look forward to seeing coming out of there down the line?
Well, I mean, we've got some great companies that are going to be graduating here in a few weeks. One of them that I think probably a lot of AwesomeCast viewers have seen is Leveler's application, which is Beer Buy. But Beer Buy is basically an application that helps you identify, track, and view information about beers, more specifically craft beers, so that you can kind of keep track of what you've had and what locations there are, and eventually start to identify where you can find your favorites, as well as maybe even start to get information about pricing of where to find the cheapest one. But that's an implementation of their overall platform, Leveler, which is an application that will allow you to track achievements and introduce game mechanics into kind of common activities. It can be anything from sales tracking in your enterprise to other sorts of service calls. You name it. It has applications all the way up from the consumer side to the enterprise side. We have No Wait, which is another application. They are introducing technology to help restaurants with their queuing. So you're familiar with a lot of applications out there that have those coasters, right? You go to a big scale, large chain restaurant. You have those coasters that tell you when your table's ready. They use commodity hardware, basically your iPhone, an iPod Touch, and let you know when, use that technology for them to track who's waiting for tables, and then alert you via SMS messaging when your table is ready. So it saves the overhead of having to replace those items and also purchase those systems. We have some really great companies that are coming through, and a lot of them are dealing in introducing gaming mechanics, working with local businesses, introducing value add sort of service offerings to them, and including helping job seekers. CareerAmp is creating an application called Resonate, which helps you better design and better lay out your resume for a particular job offering.
Excellent. Now, what? Wow, my white balance went all off when I showed that iPhone app. Apparently, whoa. We were showing off a little bit of Beer Buy there while Mike was talking about it. That's why I'm tinted. This is weird. Tell us, what a lot of technology companies, a lot of social media companies, like what is the breadth of ideas that you guys will consider for the application process?
From our standpoint, I mean, we generally play in that web internet sort of space that also can have offerings, entertainment technology. So we've had some gaming companies like Left Right Studios. We've had a lot of mobile sorts of plays. I mean, obviously you just showed one in Beerby, and also we're looking at also hardware sort of applications and companies, basically those that can deal in commodity or sort of agile hardware solutions that don't require, in order to design something, $250,000 or $500,000 to build a prototype. I mean, the whole idea for AlphaLab is really to have capital efficient businesses, meaning that $25,000, especially in today's world, which you can build software for very, very cheap with all of the frameworks that are out there. I mean, 10 years ago, building a software app, even close to a small fraction of the functionality that's on the web today would have cost you millions of dollars. Now you can build a really full-featured application, for much less. So the whole idea is we want to invest in those companies, really help them along, work with them, and borrow on the experience of InnovationWorks, which has been investing in seed stage companies for 10 years to significantly advance their development.
Excellent. Now I have to ask, we've seen it there at the meet and greets and everything. What's with the particle board?
What's with the particle board? Yeah, that's a frequent question that we get asked. It's actually we did a little bit of reuse. So the company that was in here previous to AlphaLab was a architecture firm, and actually it was full of a hell of a lot more particle board than it is now. And it was very, very constrained space, lots of different offices and lots of different kiosks. And one of the things we wanted to do when we came in was try to reuse what we could as much as possible. So a lot of the the walls that you see, the particle board, all this behind me, the shelving units, we basically recovered from the previous tenant so that, we could not only make it open, but also, make it seem a little bit industrial, but still retaining, kind of what was here, because we definitely appreciated the style, but much more open. I mean, we have 5,000 square feet here, and it's, before that, the 5,000 square feet seemed much, much smaller.
Excellent. We've talked a little bit, again, with graduates of your program in the past, about the community here, about how it seems like, all the small, when you go to these meet and greets and everything, you end up, it's like you trip over the startups around here. And the communities are real great and everything. What can you speak to how that is, and especially with AlphaLab and the functions you have there?
Well, I mean, I'll try to set aside my AlphaLab hat for a second. I mean, I moved here in 2001 from Philadelphia, formerly an Erie resident. So Doug Durda, there's your Erie mention for you. I moved here, and one of the things that wasn't really evident to me when I first moved here was kind of the entrepreneurial scene. I mean, I know there were areas where you could get resources, but I think they were a little bit hard to find. But I'd say definitely in the last 3 to 4 years, through a variety of organizations that are out there, including InnovationWorks, that startup scene has really started to be nurtured and take off. And, one of the things that I certainly appreciate even before coming to work at InnovationWorks is, AlphaLab really takes the approach that, it's a community driven ecosystem, and that, startups are really fueled by people that are out there, technologists that are out there, business people that are out there that are really, trying to dream up those ideas. And they're, involved in many different groups. Some of our partners were Fresh Pittsburgh, DevHouse Pittsburgh, PodCamp, of course, has been of, a great partner of ours in terms of, what we've been able to accomplish. And I really think that community, that entrepreneurial hub that kind of is comprised of all those different groups and the people that are out there are very important. And we've seen, some of our companies have been a direct result of that community and a product of them.
Excellent. We've had this question before. I think you and I have had a little bit of this conversation ourselves. But there's a big move. A lot of the big entrepreneurs, I won't name any names, said, if you want to make it big as a startup, you need to get out of Pittsburgh. You need to go to California. You need to go to New York. You need to go to the big hubs where all the people and the money are. At that point, it was even kind of pushed a little bit in the Facebook movie to get out to California, from what we saw. What can you speak to that and, the advantages of Pittsburgh over, the big companies? Yeah, to me, looking at it from the outside, it feels like, okay, the money's there. Okay, there's this big community there. But I think to me, it looks like a bigger chance to get lost in the crowd.
Well, I mean, definitely. I mean, Silicon Valley is, an entity unto itself. I mean, there's so much competition out there. I mean, obviously a lot of very talented individuals, people that are really trying to create companies. And from a standpoint of, some of the companies that go out there for whatever reason, I mean, sometimes they feel like they need to. I mean, I think definitely Pittsburgh has come a long way in terms of really, being, friendly to, technology entrepreneurs. You're seeing a lot of companies that are out there that are starting. I mean, obviously here at AwesomeLab, but in other places. And one of the things that I would say is this is a case in point. So Jason Calacanis, who is the host of This Week in Startups, Don Charlton, you mentioned him. He's from The Resumator, which was from Cycle 2. He appeared on the show, one of the very early shows in I think the 5th edition, and he was on there talking about The Resumator, and he's asking for suggestions from Jason. One of the first things Jason said is, get the hell out of Pittsburgh. Nothing happens in Pittsburgh. Fast forward to, I don't know how many shows later, probably a year or so later, we had some of our companies and some of the companies here in the community participate in the This Week in Startups kind of pitch off internationally. And Shoefitter, one of our companies, actually won that competition. And one of the first things they said to Jason is, why do you got to hate on Pittsburgh? And he goes, no, I don't hate on Pittsburgh. And he actually praised Pittsburgh and the community that's here, and the ideas of really local community, local government getting behind these sorts of initiatives as a as a real positive sign. So I think by that virtue, we kind of said, well, you know what, maybe you don't have to go other places. And I mean, I could talk the great place to live, low cost of living, all of those kind of life standards sort of pluses that exist. I mean, they all speak for themselves, but I really think that the community here is well networked. It's getting even better networked, and you're having the people that have succeeded really getting behind those new entrepreneurs. Excellent. And of course, if you guys want to check it out, AwesomeLab.org. All the information's out there. The application, check it out. If people have questions for you guys about the application process, if their company fits in everything, how can they get a hold of you guys? You got a pretty open channel there, if I do believe. Yeah, I mean, we have our application is online. If you go to AwesomeLab.org, there's kind of a big button right on the homepage that allows you to apply. And there's also, if you have any questions, you can email application@AwesomeLab.org. And we can try to answer questions. But one of the things that we do introduce, kind of for a more detailed conversation is this idea of office hours. We'll have office hours on the 4th and the 14th of October. You'll find more information on our blog. And also if you follow us on Twitter, which is @AwesomeLab, you can find information about scheduling a 20-minute slot to talk about your idea and ask questions from us. Excellent. Thanks a lot, Roy. Hey, real quick, your favorite moment from PodCamp? My favorite moment from PodCamp, I mean, it's always just meeting all the new people, that are there. It's, I love the icebreaker, not only because it's here at AwesomeLab, but also just seeing everybody. But it's got to be the 649. The 649 is the mainstay of the experience. But you guys did a great job putting it on this year. Well done. Excellent. Yeah, I wanted to catch you at the live thing, but it didn't work out, timing or whatnot. So I wanted to get that in now while we still can. So thanks a lot, Mike Wojcik. Check him out, AwesomeLab.org. You still running that blog? You got a blog or something, right? Is yeah. So people have started to question the existence. Yeah, I still have the personal blog, haveagoodsandwich.org. Maybe someday I'll start writing. I actually was reviewing the blogging 201 with Berg Baby today, and then I saw that she took a little bit of stab at you. So, yeah. She calls me out. She keeps me honest. Excellent. Go check him out at Wojcik on Twitter if you want to get at him. So, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. No problem. Thanks a lot. You are welcome back anytime, sir. So we got to roll out of here. We got another show. We got to keep to our schedule as much as we can here. So, hey, Chachi, what's going on with you?
Oh, the usual. ChachiSays.net for my weekly Chachi Says the vidcast. And the occasional blog that I've been trying to keep up with.
Well, you just got the one a week when you do your videos, so you got that. So, and everybody check out the interesting editing job from PodCamp when we had 6 camera angles.
That was insane.
That I had to figure out how to piece together. And that's not even all of them. That's just the people that got to me. And I actually had one that submitted to me a flip cam share that I couldn't figure out how to get it off the web. So unfortunately, there was another one that didn't get in there. So apologies for that. But still, 6 angles was enough for me to try to deal with. Maybe if like 6 more people submit their videos, I'll do another version. You know,
A B-side.
And Rob, your camera angle looked fantastic.
Yes, it did.
Thank you. I tried to capture the essence that is Chachi.
Excellent.
Oh, you did a great job, sir.
That's a lot of essence, Rob.
Excellent. Rob, what's going on with you for people to check out there?
What am I doing? If you're in Pittsburgh, the weekend of November 5th, I'm doing marketing and promotions and whatnot for a clothing swap event thingy, Thread Up. If you just want to follow my tweets and whatnot, I'll have information up there about that. I'm on the Twitters at ROBJDLC. You can check out my long dead blog. I have an issue with writing like personal blogs. They always turn into like, I don't know, me telling somebody that they're doing something wrong. But that's all at ROBJDLC.com. I'll have my pictures from PodCamp up like tonight, I think.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I also am having problems with figuring out what to put on my blog other than recaps for these kinds of shows. But you can go over there at sorgatron.com. I've been experimenting with personal video blogging, seeing how that goes, and other stuff like that. And of course, check everything out, sorgatronmedia.com, awesomecast.com for this show. Again, hit us up, contact at awesomecast.com for the email. At AwesomeCast on Twitter, and please, we got a phone line here. If you want to call up and tell us the stories we need to cover, comment on stories we've talked about, comment on our guests, tell Roy that he needs the blog more, whatever you want, you can hit us up at 724-258-CAST, 724-252-2278. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Roy. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Rob. As always, you can just we'll be here next week, and maybe I'll keep the sepia tone. Thanks, Beth, for the name of that. I couldn't recall. This is kind of I don't know. It's a nice mood down here. We'll see you guys next week. It's been the AwesomeCast.